We know that COSATU recently had a workshop with its partners from Network to discuss the finer details of the comprehensive social security system. What are the outcomes of the workshop, and what proposal is COSATU making to make or implement this process?
Remember, the workshop was about responding to government paper.
Yes.
In responding to government paper, we'll have to move with our members,
Yes.
which is very important because this is for them. But also from where I'm sitting, leadership will also have to provide leadership to members. Now, one of the proposals from government side is a National Social Security Fund. We are discussing that. We think we must go back to members and say, what is the advantage of this fund? Like trade unions, one union bargains for thousands, if not millions of workers. So it can be correct that one worker must have a fund there. So the National Social Security Fund is something that we'll have to consider seriously. But what are the challenges? Governance are a challenge, and we think that if we need not look far away from NATLEC structure, we think if you can have that structure, you then put in place a mechanism that says on your governance structure you'll have to have your NATLEC partners, because all of them are participants and are contributing. We think it will be best, and you will safeguard and protect against any dangers for the lack of better word. That's the first one. The second one is that there's going to be 3 pillars. First pillar is for everybody, so that you have a situation where in the event that people are unemployed or people are earning below poverty line or below a national minimum wage, and the question then becomes, how do you say this person must contribute? Yes. If they're contributing to a retirement fund, then government must play a role also to match those contributions so that you create an environment where up to the retirement age, as a progressive government, you then take care of your state. But another element linked to that is that we must discuss these issues with industrialization of our country to create more decent jobs so that you have more people contributing into the kitty, rather than, because our country, at least, we are a young nation. So that at the point where most of your citizens are older, there were many people who contributed, because if there's less now, then it means your system is going to be in trouble very soon. So that's very important. And we invited people from government to talk about these issues, and we are continuing to engage them in NATLEC to say, can you tell us from your side, DTI and EDD, when are you going to implement the programs of industrialization to create more jobs, etc.? The third issue which we considered as organized labor was that there's a national minimum wage. From where we are sitting, insofar as the base, it cannot be less than the minimum wage once it's legislated, and we think discussions must continue. One of the key important issues which we think we must have roadshows with government and business. Business, because 2 years ago, some loose brokers were approaching members, civil servants, and say, ask government to provide you, your employer to provide you with your benefit statement, and then they'll start saying to a member, resign, we'll create an annuity for you. Get out of a best system and get to a worse system. That's what they were saying. And I'll explain why I'm saying that. Leave government, resign, will create an annuity. In other words, will create something for you where you'll get a monthly income some other time. One, they did not tell these workers that we're going to charge you brokerage fees. Some were charging up to 7%. Two, they were not telling these members. Remember, pension fund members' pensions, tax on their pensions, it's a spec. Because you're not taking a lump sum, you're taking a two-third, a one-third at retirement, then your two-third you're getting a monthly income. The role of them is to make sure that we don't allow them to come with scaremongering and create a situation where we discourage members to leave unnecessarily as if the country is collapsing tomorrow when the country is not collapsing. We need to do a research to find out as to there are different researches. One will say people in South Africa are living less, some are saying they are living more. We'll have to arrive at what is the accurate figure, because it's important to plan for retirement. For the businesses, for government, is to make sure that we encourage members to save. That's very important for their retirement. I think there's nothing, one of the worst things is for workers to take their lump sums, like those who did 2 years ago, through that actions of government, National Treasury in particular, because they were so irresponsible and we told them so. It's painful that most of those workers, as we speak, some were 5 years into their retirement age. They cannot show you what happened to those monies. They are back at where they used to work, begging for some jobs. Two, who are these workers we're talking about? I think 99% of them are black as an African. Are we a federation that is going to create poor black professionals by allowing them to take their benefits as if we don't know what retirements? We need to have a discussion around those issues and a frank, open discussion without scaring people unnecessarily. Two, government must play its role. The challenges around governance issues is not a dream, it's reality. Government will have to put this act together so that you bring confidence to workers and say, when someone lies to workers and say, government is going to nationalize your funds, then someone does not show you a number of activities, ESCOM, SAA, and all of them, and say, is that not wastage? What are you telling about? So we need to bring that confidence to workers, and only government can do that, because these corrupt activities, looting, etc., it's a massive problem, and it's creating a difficulty for us in that as we're engaging with these issues. That's the second issue. No, that's the third issue. The fourth issue is what we do with this many funds. Which government must be responsible for that?
Hold on, before you get into that, we're going to cover workers who are earning below poverty wages or below the minimum wage. How, because we've covered those who are working, they'll make a contribution. Now, how is the social security system going to make provisions for those who are earning below and can't afford to make contributions towards the fund?
The first pillar, the proposal of the first pillar is that the base, there's going to be a base of a minimum income that is going to cover all of those workers, and the state will have to then to contribute for them. That's basically how it's going to be done. Then the second pillar is going to be your retirement funds, and yes, it's going to be your retirement funds. And the third one then is where we encourage people, if they want to save into the private sector, they do that. But within, one thing that I think I need to come back to is very important. If you're coming back to that issue, stop me. What's going to happen with that annuitization issue? I think we need to clarify it so that people know where we stand, etc. I'm going to stop. I'm going to disperse.
No, we'll get into that in a moment, because as it stands, the unemployment rate, it keeps on rising. Now we have more people who are unemployed than those who are employed. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the numbers keep rising, especially with the young people. Now, you said that the comprehensive social security system intends to cover even those who are still at student level getting into the working environment. You mentioned now how the provision will be made for those who can't afford to contribute. What about those who are unemployed?
Let me start by saying the universal coverage is going to start at the age of 18. There's a gap of people who are 18 years old up to retirement age. One is young people who are unemployed. Two, it's the missing gap between 45 to 65 who were working but they were entrenched and they can't be employed. So that's going to cover. It's going to cover everybody in that section. And two, that's why I said earlier on, it's important when we deal with this matter and deal with it comprehensively. If we are to look at a social security, comprehensive social security alone, without fundamentally addressing the issue of decent job creation, we're going to have a challenge. And in the next meeting, one of the discussions we're going to have with the economic cluster of government is to address that question. Because we are saying we do have policies. When are they going to be implemented? When are we going to see massive programs where government is presenting these programs for implementation as opposed to all this looting, corruption, state capture, and all of that? But that matter is on the agenda. I agree with you. It will be unsustainable to have a situation where more people are working, more people are unemployed, meaning they are on your social security system and only few are contributing. We're not there yet because, as you can see, I think there's about 38% unemployed people, whether that's a broad or a lowered whether that number is the accurate number or not is something else, but the fact of the matter is that 9 million unemployed people is a huge number.
Very huge number.
And having said that, then you have plus minus 11 million people who are contributing in retirement funds, which means those people are employed. But the 9 million people, I think, the 11 million people, they're not supporting millions of people because one working person can support an average of 4 souls, and that means the income of that person spend his or her income supporting the broader family. But more than that, if 65% of the people in the informal sector are earning less than 5,000 rand a month, then it means we have a serious crisis.